Again, this is Act.tv. Here are the progressive movement headlines for July 16th. A number of environmental protection groups on Wednesday announced their intention to bring the Trump administration to court directly after Trump announced he finalized plans to back the National Environmental Policy Act. By weakening the 50-year-old law known as NEPA, the president will end the system of thorough environmental impact reviews, before they do anything to our land and water, which are meant to keep infrastructure projects from damaging biodiversity, polluting waterways and residential areas, and threatening the climate. Again, President Trump wanting to lay pipe or roads or bridges, but I like to think of it as laying pipe in our beautiful Mother Earth. Very rapey, as much of the Trump, I don't know why, but it seems like Trump, there's so many metaphors for rape in the Trump administration. I think the universe is telling us something, if only we would listen. While President Donald Trump and the Education Secretary, an evil genius, Betsy DeVos, pushed to reopen schools in the fall despite the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, national experts on Wednesday released a report welcomed by the country's largest union, emphasizing the necessity of the federal and state government to provide significant resources to help teachers and students safely return to the classrooms. Let's think about this, okay? Teachers have been holed up in their homes, not going out, and now suddenly they have to go in a classroom with 30 students in one room, and then an hour goes by and there's another 30, and all of those kids could possibly be, carriers of the coronavirus. This is absolutely insane. I mean, I find that the narrative about, safety of children, this is about safety of teachers. And the Trump administration has not cared about teachers for quite some time. It is also about the safety of children, but really. The new National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, by the way, is the one who wrote that report. And that report states that reopening K through 12 schools during the pandemic, prioritizing health, equality, and communities, that's the report, encourages school districts to prioritize reopening schools for K through 5 and students with special needs, and says governments should aid these efforts with ample funding for essential supplies. That's it. The regular people who can learn on over the internets get to learn on the internet. That's tough. I don't understand. Can't we have some organizing body to organize small classrooms, sort of like the one-room schoolhouse with the one teacher and the same 10 kids coming every single day to that one little schoolhouse, and then doing it that way? That seemed to work for our country for hundreds of years before it works. There's other countries doing this, and we've been calling, education advocates have been calling for smaller classrooms for some time. Now is the time that we could possibly enact that. So let's just remember that outside of the narrative that they're giving are all of the good ideas. In other news, over 100 organizations on Wednesday urged Congress to make sure cancellation of all U.S. student loan debt is part of the next coronavirus package, the relief package, saying that the evidence is clear and the need is urgent to end the economic burden of millions of Americans. I'm waiting. Left unaddressed, the student debt trap will deepen our current recession, exacerbate inequality, widen the racial wealth gap, and slow our economic recovery, the groups wrote to congressional leaders. The letter was led by the Center for Responsible Lending, Americans for Financial Reform, DeVos, and Freedom to Prosper, and comes as October 1st looms large for many student loan holders. Call your members of Congress and tell them you support cancellation of all U.S. student loan debt as part of the next coronavirus relief package. I think that's really important. I think it would stimulate our economy, put some spending money in people's hands that they could then spend. So even if you already paid off your loan and you busted your ass to pay off your loan, it is in your own best interest to keep the economy from crashing by giving some of these other people who still are paying off their exorbitant student loans a break. So it's also in all of our self-interests to do this. It's not just out of a sense of charity. More than a dozen civil society organizations demanded in an open letter Tuesday that President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence relinquish control over the federal COVID-19 response to public health experts. a move that groups said is necessary to obviously save lives and restore the economy. Hello. Under your failed leadership, the executive branch's response to the pandemic has been inept and incoherent in nearly every respect. That's what the organizations wrote to Trump and Pence. Your callous disregard for human life during the still raging coronavirus pandemic is appalling and must cease. Support the signatories of the letter, including the groups Public Citizen, American Muslim Health Professionals, People's Action, the Progressive Democrats of America, Social Security Works, and the Coalition on Human Needs. You can find any one of those groups and go and support. Just, you could sign the thing or just give them a thumbs up on Facebook, or you could send money. Any of those ways. You could sign petitions, etc. It's really important that we show that the Trump-Pence administration's technique and tactic to just let the numbers get so high and so out of control that Americans become callous to the deaths is not going to work. These are very, very important times to push back on that. And the fact that, Trump wants to hide the numbers by not having hospitals report to the CDC anymore, but having them report to Housing and Human Services or something like that, somewhere where they're not doing a lot of public reports, etc. This is pretty sick. In fact, I think one of the state governors, is it Indiana, has COVID now. And I heard him on the radio this morning saying, yeah, it's just like I have like a little cold. And, what did he say? He gave a right-wing talking point. I mean, is he going to give a right-wing talking point from his deathbed? He said, I think it's fine. And we're going to have to learn to live with this. It's just the thing we have to learn to live with now. And I'm thinking in my head, gee, if he dies, that would be very useful to show. Wouldn't wish it on him, but it would certainly be useful to show that it's not something that we're all just going to live with. I don't understand how anyone could say that. If we're just going to learn to live with it, you don't just learn to live with some disease and ignore it. Then that's how it kills you. You learn to live with it by by taking care of it. And that particular governor will not mandate masks. And even though he has COVID, he's been doing indoor rallies and he's been showing up in a number of places with his voters and supporters. So we'll see what happens there. Keeping an eye on that. Maine House Speaker Sarah Gideon easily won the state Democratic Party nomination for Senate Tuesday, by the way, setting up that all-important contest with Susan Collins that we need to get rid of because she's so sensitive to what the other side is saying, but she always votes in line with fascism. The race is expected to garner nationwide attention for good reason, because which party controls the Senate after November's general election is becoming, it's very important and it's becoming increasingly in question, which is good news for you, me, and all of humanity. The needs of Mainers, here's a quote from Gideon. The needs of Mainers are not being met right now, and people desperately feel they need to be represented in a different way. That's what Gideon told the Portland Press Herald in an interview after her victory Tuesday night. I'm a big fan of Maine, a big fan of Portland, Maine, ever since I spent some time there in my youth, and I look forward to the people getting together up there and doing the right thing. You can help by supporting Sarah Gideon's campaign. I'm sure there are ways to volunteer. Those are the progressive news headlines for today, Thursday, July 16th. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We bring you these progressive headlines and a little bit of commentary in between every day, Monday through Thursday. Thanks for watching.